Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Star Trek Fleet Command. So, I was having a conversation with a bunch of people on my Discord server, and I was just discussing something that I had been seeing in the game. And it was really a disturbing trend for me as a player. It was about the amount of people who are really unsatisfied with the game, and we find ourselves going back and forth. My partner describes it as having a unhealthy relationship with my video game. So we're constantly going back and forth whether or not we love the game. I won't even say love the game, like the game or hate the game. And I'll give you an example. I think for a lot of players, when the Rogue faction came out, they were really happy. They were really happy to see content where you could definitely spend on it to get where you wanted to go, or you could grind it out and it would be very easy. And then we got this discovery content, and we've suffered through not only one but two arcs, and we have a third arc coming up that just really hasn't inspired a lot of people's interest in the game. And this has been really the big issue. And it should have been directly the opposite. The discovery content was some of the first, like, full series content that was getting released outside of the Kelvin universe. And so you would have thought that a lot of people would have been excited about it. And I would say, for all intents and purposes, the crew was okay. The ship was just. There's parts of the ship that are good, and there's a lot of parts of the ship that are bad. But for the content itself and the way you think it would work together hasn't come together by the end of the second arc. And that's a really big problem. People, I mean, going into arc 3, Scopely really needs to deliver something drastically different than what we've seen, and that should not be part of the formula. Part of the formula should be typically more of the same, a little bit added to that to be a little bit different, but basically being a system where you start to grind out what you've been doing in arcs 1 and 2. And in arcs 1 and 2, we've been giving these horrible surge events that I don't know a lot of people like. And that's really the gist of the discovery event. And one of the reasons I'm making this video is because I just got the survey. I will say the pros of the discovery is Giorgio. She's definitely the big pro coming outside of the gate. Other than that, and she's incredibly hard to get, packed behind a huge paywall. Other than that, there hasn't been anything that's been really fun. So we have the discovery, and the biggest problem with the discovery is I don't understand when they released event ships and there is no bonus to hunt event NPCs. That's the biggest problem I have with Discovery. Yes, it's a low powered ship. It's not meant to do a lot of great things. And now it's like a mobile transporter for our other ships. If you've spent the $200 to $300 after the fact of getting your Discovery and maybe tearing it up a bit, which is another huge paywall. This event has been just paywall after paywall after paywall. And it's really accelerated the issues that have been going on in the game. And that is the biggest problem. So if we take a look at Scopely's business plan, they have said that they're going to be bringing in all Star Trek series into the game. They eventually want to port the game to a console. But when Scopely started this all out, it was very much similar to most other mobile games. And mobile games have a very short-term investment management angle that they use. It's all about getting as much money from the player as soon as possible, then quitting the game, moving on, and creating another game. That's definitely the most dominant management style, revenue style in most mobile games. A couple mobile games do a little bit different, and I've talked about those games, and they do that for a very, very different reason. They do it because they build what I call generational games, which are sequels. So they rely on their existing player base to pick up their next game and to have that huge surge of downloads. Also, of that huge surge of spending, if they can maneuver that correctly. And I think that's part of what Scopely is trying to do, but doesn't understand that they're really alienating their player base a lot and unnecessarily. So, going back to the Discovery content, we're going into Arc 3. And honestly, it's very interesting to take a look at that because I don't think anyone has any hope for anything that's going to be very fruitful. So I had that conversation and I said, what would be a very good thing to talk about with Scopely that could improve the game? And this was a couple of things that we discussed. We discussed, let's see, bare minimum refines. So let's say you are level 28. You are going to get a bare minimum 7 uncommon from every batch you refine. And you scale that for players going on up. Because I did have a player show me their auger, which requires thousands of ore for one upgrade. And so for her, she said a 7 will do nothing for her. So let's keep that scaling. And I think 7 is a good amount for a person who is level 28. Keep in mind, we want to keep these realistic because we really want Scopely to come back and say, okay, this is something that we can work with. Generators, vaults, they need such a massive overhaul, such a hugely massive overhaul. Even if you are a raider, there is literally no way you can raid enough Parsteel, Tritanium, and Dilithium at all. If you are level 40 on up, the Parsteel requirements for buildings is just ridiculous, along with the Dilithium that you need. Dilithium is a huge problem for any player 30 on up. Tritanium is ridiculous for any ship upgrades. Amongst all of the uncommons, I mean, the station nodules, the majority of them cost gas. I don't really see there's a balance between uncommon requirements, and there's way too much uncommon requirements for station nodules, which should not be requiring it. And the amount of Parsteel, Tritanium, and Dilithium that they provide over 24 hours is pitiful. The length of upgrades taking more than a month, my operations is past a month. That is ridiculous for a game. That is literally telling us, come back in a month and you'll be ready. So why would people not do that? Scopely is big on saying, well, you can buy speed ups. Well, people don't want to buy speed ups anymore because you're having to speed up every single building. So they just let it go. They just let it go and it'll get there when it gets there. So that that has been some of the biggest problems that we've been seeing. And really the only thing holding people on this game is the community. People love the community, but even I've seen so many long-term players where they're finally getting to that point where they're like, screw it. I'm going to go and DK everyone. I'm going to quit this game. I think what keeps a lot of people in the game so far is their existing investment in the game, whether that be time or money. It's usually money because a lot of people are like, I invested $5,000 into this game. I'm not giving it up, even though they are bound to spend more and more because of that. But it's getting to that point where we want to say to Scopely, you know, enough is enough. We want you to take the brand that you have and make a much better game than what we have. Some people talked about faction credits. They come in way too slow in increasing the dailies, what you get for earning from the dailies. That, I mean, when you take what we currently get and from the station nodules that provide resources, it still is so under in any basic thing that we need. So there are definitely a couple of things that Scopely can do. They can take a look and lower the costs of what items will cost you for upgrades, or they can simply just provide more. But some of the things is going to have to change. And so this would be my final note to Scopely, because I'm going to title this video to Scopely, assuming that they're going to watch it. I get the feeling that they watch a lot of my videos. Is what will it take for there to be this kind of change that will help the player base? Is it something as simple as me making a video and asking you and giving you very, I want to say, being very diplomatic about the concerns, about meeting us halfway? Or is it going to take a player spending ban? Do we need to go to that extent? Really, the best way of telling the players is by showing us. So whether or not we see change, I want to put it out there that we're willing to meet you halfway. But if you're not willing to meet us halfway, we will go to that far extent, and I will help players organize whatever they want to do, because I will put it out there to the players. I have organized these on other games before. I don't really want to go to that extent because I think that is, it can be excessive. But what we're experiencing in the game is excessive, and a lot of us have spent thousands of dollars on this game, and so we're going to feel very passionate and very emotional about it. So really, the ball is in your court. So hopefully something does change. If not, I will definitely help the players any way I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll talk with you later.